Part 26. Good Man, He Has a Golden Finger. Author, Jonghu Buletin. Chapter 251. Everyone present was also shocked at this time. Mao Kun also recognized Jiao Rui's appearance. After all, after they got the case of the evil ghost, they mobilized the police forces of several police stations to collect all of Jiao Ziqiu's possessions. The purpose of clear information investigation is to know whether this person is colluding with the evil ghost or is a victim who was deceived by the evil ghost. Therefore, I naturally conducted a serious investigation into Jiao Ziqiu's life experience, but I didn't expect that the final result turned out to be like this. Looking at this person who really looks similar to Jiao Ziqiu, who would have thought that a grandfather would want to take the body of his grandson after his death? This sounds like too much of a fantasy. Why do you know my identity? Jiao Rui, who had recovered his appearance, admitted the matter, but Xieting Zhou said something that made everyone's hair stand on end. Of course it's simple. There are only two opportunities for evil spirits to resurrect. Reincarnation is definitely impossible. One is to seize the body. Find a person who matches your birth date and horoscope in all aspects and forcibly seize the body. However, it will take 100 years of skill. I'm afraid you can't do it either. The other option is to find a close relative to make a voluntary sacrifice. Because there is a blood relationship, if the other person willingly gives their body to you, you can complete the body taking without any harm. This is why the reason for recognizing you. You said that you have been dead for 40 years, but you can still stay with Jiao Ziqiu to disguise the system, which proves that there must be a blood relationship between you and Jiao Ziqiu, and it is easy to speculate on what will happen next. According to the time of Jiao Rui's death, the information obtained through the police investigation can easily prove Jiao Rui's identity. After all, if it is really counted, Jiao Ziqiu's grandparents will still be well off. How can they have time to come over to seize the body of such a person? Grandson who doesn't know? Jiao Rui didn't expect that it was his own words that exposed his identity. But now that the other party had a female ghost helping him, and she seemed to be a master, Jiao Rui was controlled and couldn't resist at all. He showed a wry smile and said, "I died too early, so I always wanted to experience the prosperity of the human world again, and I didn't want to take Ziqiu's body. You see, I didn't take away Ziqiu's body at all during the 3 years I was with him. Body, if it was his body, why didn't I take his body in the first place? Comrade police, I just saw that this child was in bad luck, so I just helped him." These words seemed to be really caring for Jiao Ziqiu, but Xieting Zhou sneered. Lots of nonsense. He took out a new charm in his hand, his face expressionless. "It seems you don't want to tell the truth." The charm quickly rushed to Jiao Rui and was stuck on his body. It was impossible to see what the font on it was, but everyone in the police station knew that what Xieting Zhou took out was a good thing. After all, the Requiem charm and the Yin-Yang talisman is a good thing, and now the boss is waiting to get more good things from Xieting Zhou. If you really love your grandson, you will definitely not use a sinister method like a life-killing curse to steal your luck. The so-called stealing your luck is just to take away this body more smoothly, right? Of course Jiao Rui wanted to say no, he still had love for Jiao Ziqiu on his face, but he couldn't help but speak. Yes. Now the policeman hurriedly recorded everything. Because ghosts could not be recorded in the camera, all the records needed to be recorded in writing. Guo Ran and Long Liuyun were assigned, and the two of them were busy writing at this time. You have greatly increased your mana with the death talisman, and you have swallowed the ghosts imprisoned by the death talisman, right? According to Xieting Zhou's narrative, Jiao Rui finally understood what the thing attached to his body was. It should be a charm that allowed him to only tell the truth. Yes. How many ghosts are imprisoned by the death talisman? This number is very important, because it can be used to determine the number of people who died and who was affected by the life-killing talisman. This so-called life-killing talisman means that the more you like Jiao Ziqiu, the more you will be fascinated by the ghost, and then you will be willing to do it. Dedicate yourself and everything you have with the death charm. After you sincerely dedicate yourself to the other person, you will find that your luck has deteriorated, or someone around you suddenly fell ill and died. These ghosts of death will accompany the sacrifices of those who like Jiao Ziqiu, and the soul will begin to involuntarily to find Jiao Rui. The ghosts that had just died were still muddled and unexamined. After swallowing, they were very tonic and had no ability to resist. Unlike the ghosts that had been dead for a long time, they were very powerful in combat. Therefore, Jiao Rui could not find the ghosts that died quickly, so naturally he could only choose to make his own food. 160. Jiao Rui said a number that frightened everyone, and the police were stunned. They didn't expect that as soon as they started investigating this fatal curse, they found out that this fatal curse had killed 160 people. If this continues for a long time, then by that time how many people will die? If the concert really ends successfully, how many people will die? Mao Kun's expression suddenly turned ugly. Jiao Ziqiu didn't say anything, but he also understood that the 160 people in question were probably dead, and they died because of himself, the so-called evil ghost of his grandfather. In other words, it is very possible that he died because of himself. When he thought of this possibility, Jiao Ziqiu's face turned pale and he kept twiddling his fingers. This was the most obvious manifestation of Jiao Ziqiu's nervousness. He was afraid that these 160 people were because of die by yourself. No one can bear such horrific responsibility. Write down all the names and birthdays of these people. Passing the pen and paper over, Xieting Zhou had already guessed that this evil spirit might have killed many people, but he did not expect that just an ordinary killing curse could kill so many people. Jiao Rui was controlled and could only write it down. There were requirements for this life-killing curse. Generally speaking, as long as a person is under the spell, the first person to die will be someone with a bad birth date or a weak body. So after becoming a ghost, his name and birth date will be known to Jiao Rui. For a ghost, knowing its name and birth date is equivalent to mastering the ghost's destiny. In many novels, it is always written that ghosts are controlled by corpses. If you want to kill ghosts, you only need to destroy the ghost's body to eliminate traces, but in fact, since cremation began, ghosts have further evolved. After death, ghosts will, after being separated from the corpse, if you want to deal with the ghost in the future, it will be useless to do anything to its corpse. Here, Jiao Rui was controlling the writing of the list of victims, while Jiao Ziqiu turned pale, with cold sweat already appearing on his face. "Police uncle, are so many people dead?" His eyes were red, as if he was about to cry in the next second. When he thought that these people might die because of him, his heart collapsed infinitely. He had already heard that the bright red and purple spell was actually a killing curse that would hurt people. My own fans, or their family members. Xieting Zhou saw through Jiao Ziqiu's thoughts at a glance and knew that Jiao Ziqiu was a very simple person, and he was taken advantage of because he was too simple. I am a victim cursed by the killing curse, but it has nothing to do with you. You are also a victim. If the police hadn't known about this, you would have become one of the dead. So don't feel guilty. It's the ghost who hurts people. You are the victim. How can a human being defeat a ghost? Although this evil ghost is related to you by blood, it has confused your mind and told lies, and it is not your fault. People who are related by blood are more likely to become victims and be bewitched. This is normal. Xieting Zhou does not think that such responsibility should fall on Jiao Ziqiu. But after hearing this, Jiao Ziqiu's face became even more ugly, and he couldn't say a word for a moment. Tears fell uncontrollably, and he really looked like a flower with a hint of rain. After a while, Jiao Rui wrote out everyone's names and birth dates, and Xieting Zhou handed this data to Mao Kun. "Master, just investigate based on names and birth dates to narrow down the range of people around them who like Jiao Ziqiu. These people may have had a small problem at the beginning, and their luck was sucked away and then turned into a serious disease, or they were unlucky to begin with and were killed. Fu will directly kill you, let's investigate first. Mao Kun felt uncomfortable after getting the quota of 160 people. He immediately handed over the quota to the police on the side and asked them to start an investigation. The interrogation seemed to have come to an end at this point. Xieting Zhou heard the reward given by the metaphysics system. Congratulations to the host for discovering a harmful evil ghost. A special reward is an alchemy furnace. If you put the evil ghost into the alchemy furnace, you can get longevity elixir. After hearing this familiar alchemy furnace, Xieting Zhou showed a true expression and took out the alchemy furnace directly. Mao Kun and other police officers have long been accustomed to Xieting Zhou's abilities. Even if Xieting Zhou has a secret, they are not surprised. Therefore, they are very calm about such a small alchemy furnace, which is less than the size of a palm. I saw Xieting Zhou opening the alchemy furnace, and Jiao Rui was directly sucked into it. When he closed the lid, only Jiao Ziqiu was left in the entire interrogation room, and Jiao Rui's evil ghost had already been taken into the alchemy furnace. I have taken away this evil ghost. How to break the life-killing curse? All you need to do is erase all the runes of this curse. As long as the evil ghost is no longer on Jiao Ziqiu, it's just that Jiao Ziqiu can't continue to be a star in the future. Xieting Zhou gave the final result, and no one was surprised. Even if Xieting Zhou didn't say it, such a big thing happened to Jiao Ziqiu. Naturally, it was impossible for Jiao Ziqiu to appear in public again, but this matter couldn't be a scandal. They had to cover it up with a reason. Jiao Ziqiu didn't speak. He was still shocked by the 160 lives and was speechless. He sat there crying silently. And the entire police station quickly started operating based on the matter of the death talisman. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 252. Just when Jiao Ziqiu was under investigation at the police station, the internet was already exploding. After all, Jiao Ziqiu was a top traffic fan with more than 30 million fans, but he was taken away by the police. How could this not explode? The paparazzi who took the video directly released the entire video. Jiao Ziqiu was surrounded by several police officers. Although he was very calm, he seemed to be in a bad mood. He was not wearing handcuffs when he went to the police car. #enter the police station #went straight to the top of the hot search list. The paparazzi who posted the latest news also used casual words. It meant that Jiao Ziqiu got into the police car and did not say whether the other party had committed a crime. After all, those who commit crimes must wearing handcuffs. Fans were confused when they saw this video, and then they immediately reacted and started to protest. After all, although Jiao Ziqiu got into the police car, he had his hands by his side and was not wearing handcuffs. If a crime was really committed, the police would arrest him. No handcuffs? So everyone was worried about why Jiao Ziqiu went to the police station, and fans quickly started taking action. Of course, ordinary netizens are not fools. They have experienced many twists and turns like the collapse of a celebrity's house or a bloody drama. When everyone saw Jiao Ziqiu getting into the police car, they did not think that the other party must have committed a crime. Let the bullets come again. After flying for a while, if a crime is really committed, can the police not give an explanation to the public? In short, everyone is relatively sensible. It does not mean that everyone becomes a keyboard warrior after picking up a keyboard. The internet police on the police side have already begun operations. Our country's various network facilities have formed a huge Skynet. The internet police naturally cover the whole country. Therefore, after knowing the situation about the death talisman, they began to quickly search and select various descriptions, and photos of the death talisman were blocked so that ordinary people could no longer see the death talisman. At the same time, when many fans couldn't bear it anymore and called the police station to ask what was going on, Jiao Ziqiu's company issued a statement saying that Jiao Ziqiu went with the police to cooperate with the concert to crack down on scalpers. Fans were cheated by buying tickets from scalpers. Naturally, this statement is not recognized by many people. After all, the salaries of celebrities are so high these days, and the housing collapse rate is also so high. How can such a scalper case bring celebrities to the police station? Isn't this a joke? I just didn't expect that after the statement came out, the organizer of Jiao Ziqiu's concert came forward and said that because of the rampant scalpers, Jiao Ziqiu's winter concert was cancelled and everyone would be refunded the same way. Seeing that there are only 3 days until Jiao Ziqiu's concert starts, many people have arrived in Beijing in advance. They can't believe this news. But this is official news, so no one can say anything. The police station also posted the latest Weibo post 6 hours after the incident occurred. Shanghai Police Station v. A case of scalping fraud occurred in our city. The sky-high price of scalping tickets is often accompanied by high profits, which makes people take risks. After discussions between the police station and the celebrity client Jiao Ziqiu, all Jiao Ziqiu's concerts in 3 days were suspended, and the original route was given to all refunds for fans who purchased concert tickets. Fans who bought concert tickets from scalpers can call the police at the local police station and claim the amount they were defrauded through the concert tickets. This news directly proves that Jiao Ziqiu's company's public relations are right. They have begun to investigate the scalpers. Because the scalpers at Jiao Ziqiu's concert were too excessive, they conducted an investigation. Now they are not even doing the concert. The fans were going crazy, but the public was applauding. After all, who likes scalpers these days? Originally, you could get something at a fair price, but if the scalper bought the ticket in advance, you would have to spend several times the price to buy it. Isn't this just a big complaint? So fans refunded their tickets, and even Jiao Ziqiu, who was in the police station, was asked to post a public video. Jiao Ziqiu v. Fans, please do not buy scalper tickets to prevent being deceived. Video. This video explains Jiao Ziqiu's personal appeal to everyone not to buy scalper tickets, and it has been forwarded by various big verses. It can be regarded as a true indication of the country's intention to take action against scalpers. No one noticed the turmoil hidden in this case. Only Jiao Ziqiu was still in a gloomy mood after posting on Weibo. The company knew that Jiao Ziqiu was okay, so they felt a lot more relieved. After all, as long as it wasn't illegal, it was good to cooperate with the police. The police station handles cases regarding the death talisman quickly. As long as a report is received from Jiao Ziqiu's fans, it will be handled uniformly, and the matter of forcing the death talisman will be completely resolved. 2 hours later, the list of 160 names given by Jiao Rui had been confirmed. They were all related to Jiao Ziqiu. Their relatives were all more or less fans of Jiao Ziqiu and had watched the killing. Curse, some people even secretly said that as long as Jiao Ziqiu can be well, they will pay any price. They have already paid the price for this. The dead people cannot be resurrected, and the police cannot tell the story in a big way. All this is destined to be a tragedy. Jiao Ziqiu couldn't help but talk to Guo Ran, who was sorting information next to him. Did I kill a lot of people? They all died. Guo Ran raised his head and saw Jiao Ziqiu's panicked look. He was only 22 years old this year and had not experienced the social grinding. Now that something like this happened, how could he not be afraid? It wasn't you who killed them, it was the evil ghost. You were also a victim, you were almost killed. The police will investigate this matter, don't take it too seriously. These people didn't die because of you, but because of the evil ghost. He said such comforting words, but he actually knew that what he said was useless to Jiao Ziqiu. People are like this. If you encounter certain things, you can't let it go. In addition, human nature is sensitive and suspicious. Just like when a bus has a car accident, everyone dies and only one person is left. Many of the people who survived will suffer from a disease. He will not think that he is lucky to survive, but will question why he is the only one who survived. Jiao Ziqiu was silent again, and he looked pitiful when he was silent. Long Liun also sighed, thinking that this matter had nothing to do with Jiao Ziqiu on the surface, but Jiao Ziqiu, who was possessed by the evil ghost, could be liked by fans because of Jiao Ziqiu's body. It was said that there was no relationship, but in fact there was. After a while, Jiao Ziqiu suddenly said, "Can I compensate them? I sold my house and car and exchanged them for money to compensate them. He has nothing else, no family, no friends, the only thing he has is the money he earned from being a star in the past 3 years. Maybe because Jiao Rui is a ghost, the contract signed by Jiao Ziqiu and the company is very good, it can be said to be the best. In the past 3 years, after Jiao Ziqiu became popular, he went on stage, filmed commercials, and filmed movies. It can be said that he really made a lot of money. This money is enough for Jiao Ziqiu to live a rich life after retiring. We can't make the decision on this, and after investigation, those who died all died of natural diseases, and there were even few accidents. According to Ting's meaning, this fatal curse should have accelerated their death time, so whether the police will notify these families in the end, we are not sure yet. As for compensation, it should also depend on the follow-up situation. This is the first large-scale case of evil ghosts harming people that they have investigated. If it was a person harming others, they don't know how to calculate the final compensation, let alone a ghost harming people. Therefore, the police did not notify the families of the 160 people for the time being. Moreover, there is another problem involved, that is, how to explain the deaths of these people to their families. Moreover, many of these families have children who chase stars. If the children know that their star chasing killed their families, this will be another new lawsuit. The police cannot gamble on this. If their notification breaks up the 160 families, then they will also choose to remain silent, but they need to use other methods to make up for these people. Well, I know. Jiao Ziqiu really wants to make up for this matter, but he doesn't know where to start. After Guo Ran finished reading the documents, he started drawing talismans for another day. Now Guo Ran is a hot commodity in the bureau. This talisman drawing is not something that everyone can do. He took out the yellow talisman paper prepared in the police station, as well as the fine cinnabar, and picked up the brush and began to quickly write a string of talismans on it. This talisman is actually quite difficult to write, but Guo Ran has this talent, and it is simply done in one stroke. Jiao Ziqiu stayed with Guo Ran because he was a victim and he needed to cooperate with the police in the follow-up actions. When he saw Guo Ran drawing the talisman and thought of the ghosts in the police station, he felt that this world was indeed different from what he imagined. Is your talisman used to control ghosts? He was very curious, but Guo Ran said. It is used to let us see ghosts, just like you saw our female police officer. There is no need to hide this. After all, Jiao Ziqiu was involved in a big case and would sign a confidentiality agreement later. He couldn't tell anyone that there were ghosts in the police station. Jiao Ziqiu was even more curious, and then he stayed beside Guo Ran and watched Guo Ran finish it in one stroke, and then quickly made more than 20 talismans. After that, his hands and neck were too tired, so he began to rest. Can I draw it? Jiao Ziqiu became curious about this. Guo Ran didn't stop him, but only gave him a piece of paper. After all, this thing is also very expensive. As a result, something shocking happened. Jiao Ziqiu had never touched these things, but he was able to draw them just like Guo Ran. Guo Ran was shocked to see that the yin-yang talisman was exactly the same as his own. After Xie Tingzhou came over, he also found this yin-yang talisman. Looking at Jiao Ziqiu again, he felt that this man was really talented. You are quite talented in drawing talismans, probably because of the ghost before. If you care about those who died because of the deadly talisman, you might as well sign a contract with the police station. You will not be a star in the future. You can also save many people by drawing talismans. As soon as these words came out, Jiao Ziqiu's eyes lit up and he felt that he had been redeemed. Okay. I am willing to draw talismans for the police station. I can draw talismans all the time. I will not be a star anymore, and I don't want to hurt people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 253. People in the police station also know that Jiao Ziqiu is not a bad guy, but also a victim. Now that he has such a talent, he naturally does not want to waste it. Although these spells are copied above, the ones that can be used are still limited. Most of the spells are handmade. I couldn't figure out the pattern, and I didn't know what kind of person could make such a spell, so in the end Jiao Ziqiu was taken away. The people from the special metaphysics team took Jiao Ziqiu away and terminated the contract with Jiao Ziqiu's entertainment company in the name of the state. As we all know, as long as you enter a state agency, many contracts will be automatically voided. The police station is very busy this year. They are all busy with the matter of killing curses. Of course, there are also scalpers. During the investigation of scalpers, they have solved several cases of scalpers, so the police department has done well this year. Turbulent. Many fans who were deceived by scalpers got their money back. The man who was crying and wanted to have an operation on his wife returned to his hometown. After receiving the operation fee of 20,000 yuan, he went to check his wife's subsequent symptoms and found that the uterine fibroids turned benign again, but the surgery was still performed, but the cost was reduced a lot in the end. It only cost less than 10,000 yuan, which made the man cry with joy. What Xieting Zhou said about being possessed by ghosts was true. When those strange spells disappeared, the little girl named Fang Tiantian suddenly came to her senses. She immediately understood what she had done and collapsed. After crying, she followed her father home. Her father chose to forgive the little girl. I heard that when her mother was undergoing surgery, the little girl was waiting in front of the hospital bed, as if she had grown up overnight. Under the deliberate official silence about Jiao Ziqiu, no one said anything anymore. After all, at the end of the year, everyone was busy watching various programs and would not pay too much attention to other things. Jiao Ziqiu was still posting on Weibo every few days. Most of them it was just transferring some case details, but it didn't cause any turmoil. This year's winter in Beijing is extremely cold. After New Year's Eve, let alone the past few days of the Chinese New Year, and with the fireworks being set off, the sound of firecrackers has been heard everywhere this week, from day to night. Xieting Zhou, Guo Ran and Long Liuyun also went to the place where fireworks were set off to conduct an inspection. It can be said that they were very busy. It's the last few days of the Chinese New Year, and the bureau has begun to have a holiday. There are a lot of gifts, most of which are food, oil, noodles, etc. Being a police officer is like this. You may not have much money, but you will not be short of food. Returning to his house, Xieting Zhou found that the door of his house had been pasted with couplets by the property management. After entering, he lay down to rest. Being a police officer is actually different from what many people imagine. It seems that in everyone's eyes, the police are either cracking down on crime or doing undercover operations. But in fact, what people are talking about are criminal investigation police and anti-narcotics police, such as Xieting Zhou is the most ordinary policeman. He spends most of his time dealing with various trivial matters and only encounters a few difficult things throughout the year. Xieting Zhou is still an orphan in this life. He was admitted to the police academy, and then successfully came to the Yangzhou Avenue police station here after graduation to intern. In fact, if he has meritorious service, he may be transferred to the Criminal Investigation Brigade, and the Criminal Investigation Brigade will step-by-step rising is the normal path to promotion. However, Xieting Zhou still listened to the show and didn't want to work hard anymore. He thought it would be good to retire in an ordinary police station. After resting for a while, Xieting Zhou took out the alchemy furnace that was already a month old. This thing is a real good thing and is used to refine ghosts. If the evil ghost puts it into it, he can make various elixirs, such as the longevity elixir mentioned in the system. When Jiarui was first thrown into it, the alchemy furnace was glowing red, but now it was completely dim, proving that the alchemy was successful. Xieting Zhou opened the alchemy furnace and poured out 4 pills. The 3 red elixirs look ghostly, but they are the good things that everyone wants. They are the longevity elixirs. Taking them can extend a person's life by 1 year, no matter what time he or she is. The other black one is a pill that condenses the evil ghost's power. If you give it to other ghosts, you can get Jiarui's 40 years of mana. Looking at the elixir in his hand, Xieting Zhou finally understood why the original owner was so arrogant in the end. He used ghosts to do things, raised evil ghosts, and then used these long-lived elixirs to control rich people. Naturally, it connected a huge relationship. Net. It's a pity that the most powerful longevity pill in this system is only 1 year of life, so this thing is useless to ordinary young people, and it is useless to the elderly at the bottom. It is only useful to this world. It is useful to the top rich people. Only people who have reached the pinnacle of money and power would want to ask for immortality. Just when Xieting Zhou was reading these 4 pills, there was a sudden knock on the door, dong 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 dong. He got up and opened the door, and then saw his master, Long Liun's family, Guo Ran and the female ghost Yu Xiao outside the house. Ting Zhou, you are so lonely during the Chinese New Year. We came to your house to have hot pot together and we brought you everything. Mao Kun held up the food he had brought with him. Others were also bringing food in 2s and 3s. Only then did Xieting Zhou laugh. Master, come in quickly. Outside the window is the falling snow, and people inside the house are busy preparing hot pot. Such an ordinary and happy day is the day that many people have always wanted to pursue. This New Year's Eve, Xieting Zhou had a lively time. Every day, he either ate with everyone at home or took Yu Xiao to eat everywhere. Anyway, he was welcome everywhere. After the new year, it was time for a new work. Xieting Zhou brought out new things for the metaphysics special team. This is the ghost fire curse, which is specially for ghosts to learn. It is ghost language, which only ghosts can understand. Now, team leader Lu, I will give this thing to you. I hope it will be useful for our future. Seeing such a powerful thing, Lu Yunjia was also very moved and shook Xieting Zhou's hand to thank him. Comrade Xie, I really thank you for believing in the country. We will definitely use this ghost fire curse well. You don't know how much benefit the yin-yang talisman and the soul calming talisman alone have brought to the country. At any time, Comrade Xie, if you have any special requirements, just let me know. You know, they used the soul calming talisman to reawaken some special talents who had passed away in the country before. Now many of them have returned to new jobs and have also created new influences on the country's science and technology. It has to be said that it is excellent. As for the Ghost Corps, everyone is groping forward, learning how to train themselves to become stronger, and how to act if they encounter evil ghosts. Yu Xiao went to the Ghost Corps during the Chinese New Year to practice with the soldiers of the Ghost Corps. After all, Yu Xiao is a real evil ghost. Well, there is indeed one thing that needs to be troubled by team leader Lu. The families of the 160 victims were not notified in the previous case of the death spell. Jiao Ziqiu himself felt very guilty and originally proposed to compensate them with money, but I stopped him. Now I have refined a pill with Jiao Rui's ghost. After taking it, it can extend life for 1 year. Team Leader Lu, please help me sell these 3 pills and use the money to make humanitarian compensation to the families of the 160 victims. After all, these were people harmed by Jiao Rui, and now Jiao Rui's ghost is compensating them, no problem. A pill that can extend people's life. Lu Yunjia was really shocked. He didn't expect that there was such a medicine in the world. Xie Tingzhou was the most indifferent. It can only extend a person's life for 1 year, and it will only take effect when the person has only half a year left to live, so I asked Team Leader Lu for help. According to Lu Yunjia's investigation, it will definitely be no problem to find someone who meets these requirements, and money is not a problem. Okay, I'll help. Lu Yunjia swallowed his saliva involuntarily. To be honest, who wouldn't be tempted by this thing? This thing is made by ghosts. If a normal living person eats it, he will die a miserable death. Team Leader Lu should understand what I mean. Xie Tingzhou warned. Lu Yunjia had encountered so many incredible things about ghosts in the past 6 months, so he naturally didn't dare to mess around and nodded immediately. Comrade Xie, rest assured, we will definitely hand this pill to those who need it, and exchange it for money to compensate those who were hurt by the fatal curse. It is completely open and transparent. Please supervise at any time, Comrade Xie. Lu Yunjia, who left with the ghost fire curse, naturally handled this matter very well. In March, Xie Tingzhou met Lu Yunjia again and learned that the medicine cup was sold to a rich man who was about to die. In the end, he got 500 million yuan. After compensating the 160 dead people with a small amount of these funds, there was still a lot left. Xie Tingzhou was not polite. He took 100 million yuan, and the rest was donated to the ghost army by Jiao Ziqiu. He had signed a confidentiality agreement and knew the existence of the ghost army. Xie Tingzhou took this money so that he could help others when he encountered some problems. Many times, you have to admit that money can solve 90% of the problems in this world. New Year, new atmosphere. When the spring breeze came, the children had already started school. Yangzhou Avenue received a new alarm. On April 3, the police station received a call saying that a child was standing on the roof of the school building and was about to jump off the building. The police quickly dispatched. When Xie Tingzhou, Guo Ran and Long Liuyun arrived at the scene, they found that many students were standing downstairs watching and pointing at the upper floors. They ran madly up to the 6th floor of the teaching building. When they reached the roof of the 7th floor, they saw a boy standing at the edge with a wound on his face. Several teachers in the front row wanted to persuade him, but the children next to the teachers kept saying provocative words. If you have the ability, just jump. You coward, you don't dare to jump. Sissy. People like you shouldn't be alive. Unlucky guy. Hurry up and die. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 254. Some people say that the most innocent people in the world are children, but the truth is exactly the opposite. The most vicious people in the world are also children, and they don't even think they are vicious. Xie Tingzhou frowned when he heard these voices. Guo Ran and Long Liuyun were not much better. Although they had not experienced school bullying, they clearly understood that in their student days, school bullying was everywhere. Or in other words, as long as there is a group social relationship, hierarchical suppression and bullying are everywhere. Jump. You coward. Who doesn't know that your mother ran away with a wild man? Go to hell. You unlucky guy. Unlucky guy. Go to hell. You can dance if you can. The crazy shouts of the students continued, causing the child standing on the edge of the roof to sway suddenly, like a fallen leaf in the wind, as if it was about to fall in the next moment. If it falls on the 7th floor, it will definitely fall. He is bound to die. Even if he survives his death, he will remain paralyzed in bed for the rest of his life. Xieting Zhou walked over directly, holding a baton in his hand, and poked each of the shouting students on the waist. If you keep shouting, I will take you to the police station. Threatening others to commit suicide and succeeding is also a crime. Xieting Zhou's cold voice silenced several of the shouting boys. They immediately did not dare to speak anymore. They looked at the people in police uniforms and took a step back. Then, Kui Kaid, the dean of students, and Lin Ziyi, the teacher who discovered this incident, were next to him. Man suddenly showed an excited expression. "Comrade police, you are finally here. Help this child quickly. Nothing we say is of any use." Lin Ziman is the head teacher, and he usually has a tough style, but now his eyes are red, and he is begging pitifully for the police who came, hoping that these police can achieve a good effect. Kui Kaid also spoke quickly. "Comrade police, please persuade this student quickly. There is nothing we can do." He ignores him no matter what. Guo Ran also saw the figure with his back to him, and immediately nodded. "Don't worry, we are all professional police officers and we will definitely let him come down." However, Long Liuyun was not optimistic. In the past, there were children who jumped off the building in the school she went to. It was because of the pressure of her family. She was originally a very good student, and her grades were always among the top 3. Once she ranked 5th in the school, she never I jumped off the top floor of my school. Later, after an investigation by the school, I found out that I was blamed and punished by my parents after falling out of the top 3, so I jumped under great psychological pressure. Later, Long Liuyun's school also specially provided psychological counseling for students, and even called all parents to attend the class together. They believed that children should not be overforced in their studies. When you want to force children, first think about who you are. If he is an ordinary person, why do you expect your son to be the best among people? And now, looking at the boy standing on the rooftop, Long Liuyun didn't know what kind of pressure he had endured to stand here, but he must be helpless at this moment and needed someone to pull him away. Bundle. The abyss is right in front of him. Before he jumps, as long as someone is willing to hold his hand, he can get through it. Xieting Zhou remained silent after managing the students, not knowing what he was thinking, while Guo Ran had already picked up the trumpet. "Classmate, don't be impulsive. I am a policeman. If you have any grievances, come down and tell the police uncle. I will definitely seek justice for you. No matter who bullied you or what happened, uncle will help you. He will always be on your side." Guo Ran's voice was really penetrating and lively, and the boy with his back to everyone heard the police coming, and then turned to look at Xieting Zhou and others, but he hadn't spoken yet. He has a pretty face, but now there are bruises on it. You can tell at a glance that he was beaten. There are also scratches on his neck. The school uniform he is wearing is also dirty. It doesn't look like he made it himself. It seemed like someone was teasing him. "Classmate, please don't get excited. Now, how about the police uncle go over and talk to you? If you have any grievances, tell uncle." Guo Ran began to quietly walk towards the boy, moving slowly, but as soon as he walked out less than 1 meter, he heard the naughty voice behind him. "Don't you dare to jump. Ye Hung, you have the ability to jump. Your mother ran away with someone. Your father is a gambler. How can you have the nerve to live in this world?" A boy's high-pitched voice made Ye Hung's face turn pale. His words clearly irritated Ye Hung, and the next moment, he froze. Because Xieting Zhou did something that surprised everyone. As a policeman wearing a police uniform, he slapped the boy directly in the face. With a loud snap, the left side of the boy's face suddenly turned red, and even the corner of his mouth was red. "Blood. Did the police let you speak when they were handling the case?" Xieting's whose voice was more condensed than ever before. Not to mention the children, even the school's dean and teachers were shocked. You. The police beat someone. The police beat someone. I want to report you. The child was beaten but still stubborn. Now his eyes widened and he looked at Xieting Zhou unconvinced, quite a bit. I must go against Xieting Zhou. But something even more incredible happened for everyone. Xieting Zhou stretched out his hand and slapped him again without hesitation. This behavior would be better if it were an ordinary person, but if it was a policeman, he would really be reported, and he might even lose his police uniform. I told you to shut up, do you hear me? Xieting Zhou was really angry. He looked so frightened with a low pressure all over his body. People present suddenly felt like they couldn't speak. For some reason, it was almost springtime, but at this moment it was as cold as if they were entering. Like a severe winter day, it was extremely cold everywhere, and even my feet suddenly became unable to move. Ye Hong was also stunned. He was feeling very uncomfortable at first, but when he saw that the police were beating people for him, he didn't bother to jump off the building. He just stood there and watched blankly. This was also the first time Long Liuyun had seen him. Xieting Zhou was so angry that he suddenly felt afraid that something had happened, and it was something they didn't know about. Guo Ran thought that this was Xieting Zhou cooperating with him, so he quickly and quietly moved towards Ye Hong. As long as he could get to Ye Hong's side, Guo Ran believed that he could not subdue a child who was not yet an adult. That's a problem, and looking at how thin this kid is, he must be easy to control. The rooftop on the 7th floor became strangely calm, which made people feel terrified. The child who was beaten did not dare to say a word. He covered his face and started crying. He was terribly wronged, but in his heart, he planned to ask his parents to report this policeman later. Be sure to report it. It's absolutely impossible not to report it. Dean Kuikide and teacher Lin Zeman did not dare to speak. They did not expect that the most handsome male police officer would be the most violent. How could he beat a child? These days, teachers don't dare to spank their children, just use their cell phones or record them. When the Education Bureau comes to find them, they will immediately end the teaching permanently. It was the first time I saw a policeman being so violent and beating someone. It was my first time. It opened my eyes. Ye Hong also reacted, and when he saw Guo Ran moving very close to him, he spoke excitedly. His voice was a trembling shivering, like a small animal being forced close to the edge of a cliff. It was extremely pitiful. Don't come over. If you come over I will jump down. Ye Hong said these words tremblingly, and tears flowed from his eyes. He had never cried in front of so many people. The tears at this time were not from fear, but from seeing the person who bullied him being beaten. After being so excited, he didn't know what to do, he didn't know how to live. Was he going to be bullied for the rest of his life? Do you want to live in such pain for the rest of your life? His tears kept falling, and he obviously wanted to end his life, but his pitiful eyes seemed to be asking for help from everyone around him. Guo Ran immediately stood on the spot, not daring to move, and his voice became extremely gentle. I won't go there, so don't be impulsive. Your name is Ye Hong, right? Your name is really nice. Is Hong the one who perseveres? My name is Guo Ran, and I think you are very much like my brother, classmate. Otherwise, we get to know each other. Taking the initiative to close the relationship, Guo Ran showed unprecedented patience in order to make Ye Hong relax his vigilance. Long Liuyun didn't speak at this moment, leaving the situation to Guo Ran, and then looked at the children who were about to move with a warning look. The baton in his hand moved slightly, full of warning. But Long Liuyun was still very worried in her heart. She was worried that Xieting Zhou would be punished and reported for this. Everyone's eyes were on Ye Hong at this time. No one noticed when the door to the rooftop was closed. Everything seemed strange and normal. Xie sighed in his heart, knowing that this matter could not be solved, so he walked over. Ye Hong saw the policeman walking towards him. Although he had just helped him beat someone up, Ye Hong was still unwilling to let him get close to him. "Don't go any further. If you go any further I'll jump." He turned to look at the empty space downstairs, and then looked at the policeman walking towards him. Xie opened his mouth. "Your name is Ye Hong, right? I'm not here to save you. I'm here to tell you that your mother Ye Qiang did not run away with anyone. Your mother was killed. After so many years, don't you want to know who your mother is? Was he killed by someone?" As soon as these words came out, not only the teachers and students behind were stunned, Ye Hong as the person involved was also confused, because after he became sensible, his father kept saying that his mother ran away with a wild man, and now a policeman actually said that his mother was killed. When he thought of this possibility, he suddenly looked shocked, but he spoke without hesitation. "Do you know about my mother? My mother is dead. My mother did not leave with anyone or abandon me. Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 255. From childhood to adulthood, people around Ye Hong, whether relatives of his father or neighbors, always looked down on and hated Ye Hong's mother, as if they wanted to put her on the pillar of shame. Ye Hong's father told Ye Hong that Ye Hong's mother, Ye Qiang, eloped with a wild man. Ye Hong's father, Du Yuhan, met his mother, Ye Qiang, in another place. After they fell in love, Ye Qiang's family didn't want to, so they eloped to where Du Yuhan was now. But Ye Qiang was worried about her parents. After she became pregnant, she insisted on naming her son Ye Hong, saying that she wanted to bring her son back to her parents one day. Ye Qiang believed that her parents would forgive her, and according to Du Yuhan liked Ye Qiang very much at the time, so she was naturally willing to let her son follow Ye Qiang's surname. Finally, after giving birth to the child, he was named Ye Hong, which represented Du Yuhan's love for Ye Qiang. Ye Qiang disappeared when Ye Hong was 5 years old. Ye Hong's memory at that time was not clear, but the only thing he remembered was his mother's gentle embrace and the gentle voice when humming the song. These were what Ye Hong missed as he grew up. After his mother disappeared at the age of 5, Ye Hong's grandparents came to take care of Ye Hong, but because Ye Hong's surname was Ye, Du Yuhan's parents did not like this grandson. They thought that this grandson's surname did not follow their family, so they knew he was an outsider, so they beat and scolded Ye Hong. When Ye Hong remembered the things a little, he was already 8 years old. At that time, Du Yuhan started gambling. He used to go to work normally. It was after Ye Qiang disappeared that Du Yuhan began to degenerate. Therefore, the Du family couple would curse Ye Hong every time, saying that it was because of Ye Hong's mother and son that he became like this. If it weren't for liking Ye Qiang, Du Yuhan would not be like this now. After long-term brainwashing, Ye Hong also thought so. He occasionally resented why his mother eloped with a wild man, why she couldn't stay with him, and whether his mother didn't love him at all. The child who lost his mother could not get the love of his father. He was cursed and beaten by his grandparents, and even mocked by relatives and friends. He was bullied after going to school. I don't know who spread the news that his mother Ye Qiang ran away with a man. Anyway, everyone knew it after it was spread around. They were unwilling to play with Ye Hong, thinking that Ye Hong's mother ran away with a wild man and Ye Hong was also a bad boy. Later, when Ye Hong was promoted from junior high school to high school, he looked more and more like Ye Qiang. Du Yuhan was addicted to alcohol and gambling, and became a scum in people's eyes and a truly unreliable existence. Fortunately, Ye Hong was a good student, so he had a scholarship to go to school, and Du Yuhan didn't need to pay for it. The Du family couple beat their son after he got drunk and ran away. They had other sons, so naturally they would not put all their thoughts on Du Yuhan. They cursed Ye Hong, saying that if it weren't for Ye Qiang, their good son wouldn't have become such a person. After junior high school, only Yehung and Du Yuhan were left at home. Du Yuhan would beat people after drinking, and Yehung was the victim. It was only when he was a little older, at the age of 15, that Yehung directly took a kitchen knife to fight Du Yuhan. After that, Yehung was not beaten. But Du Yuhan was unlucky afterwards. It was okay to lose gambling, but he also had several fingers chopped off. After that, he fell into the sewer while walking, or a flower pot fell from the upstairs. Anyway, he didn't die every time, but he was injured, which was also very strange. After Yehung went to high school, his academic performance was good. The teacher liked this well-behaved academic bully very much, but some people looked down on him and had to come to bully him. The news that Yehung's mother ran away with a man was spread everywhere. The school tried hard to suppress such rumors, but there was still no way. With this reason, those boys began to bully Yehung unscrupulously. In the school life of many people in junior high school and high school, it is not like what is filmed in novels and TV dramas, where a beautiful girl is bullied. In fact, the bullied in reality are the most miserable. In reality, it is not only girls who are bullied, but boys are even the real targets of most school bullying. They may be fat, have acne on their faces, are thin and short, and look like girls. These reasons that may seem too normal to ordinary people have become the reasons for their bullying. Just like Yehung. The reason why Yehung was bullied is very simple. He has a handsome appearance and good academic performance. He is the object of many girls' love. The teacher also looks at him differently. Because he loves cleanliness, he always carries wet wipes and toilet paper on his body. Just this behavior makes people spread homosexuality and sissy, and then further causes bullying by many boys. These boys blocked Yehung in the toilet, took off his clothes, and knowing that Yehung liked to be clean, they deliberately splashed his school uniform with dirty water, destroyed his homework and books, and scribbled on his desk and chair. The teacher also tried to stop it several times, but the effect was very small. After that, these boys who bullied Yehung all had bad luck. Some fell down the stairs, some fell down when playing on the horizontal bar, and some hit their heads. These tacit bad luck made everyone think that Yehung was an unlucky guy, a star of misfortune, and anyone who got close to Yehung would have bad luck. The more you think about it, the more you feel that your injury is related to Yehung, so they bullied Yehung collectively again, blocked Yehung in the toilet, cursed him, insulted him, and vented their malice in their hearts. Finally, Yehung couldn't bear it and stood here. He had endured too much suffering in the world, so he wanted to end it all. But now, this boy who wanted to end his life all at once was stunned after hearing about his mother. All the information about death in his mind was deleted. He just wanted to know, what happened to his mother? What happened that year? Why did the police say that his mother was dead? Was she killed? At this moment, Yehung's tears kept falling, his eyes were red, not crying for himself, but crying for his mother. He choked and looked at Sieting Zhou in front of him, unable to accept what the police said, and a crazy and sharp voice sounded. Impossible. You lied to me. My mother ran away with someone. She eloped with someone. After he finished speaking, he actually added. She must have eloped with someone. That man must have treated her better than my dad. That's why she ran away with that man. She must be alive and well now. Even if she doesn't want me, she will have other children. You lied to me. My mother must be fine. She can't be dead. Ming Ming hated his mother in his heart and hated the disaster she brought to him, but at this moment, when he heard the police say that his mother was dead and murdered early, Yehung still couldn't believe it. He refuted frantically, and would rather believe the slander in people's mouths, believing that his mother met someone better than his father, so she eloped, even if she didn't want him, as long as she was still alive, even if she didn't want him, it was good. Yehung cried like a child who had suffered a lot of grievances. If the previous tears were the pain and relief of collapse, then the crying now was like aggrieved and helpless, not knowing what to expect. He believed the police's words for a moment, thinking that if his mother was really alive, she would come to find him, but he would rather this woman be alive, even if she didn't look for him. Perhaps this is what a child's love is like. Mixed with hatred, he also hopes that the existence of the mother can be well. Reason and emotion are intertwined at this moment, making Yehung cry bitterly, without noticing that he has begun to believe this matter involuntarily. A gust of cold wind gently blew Yehung's hair, as if caressing his cheek, with a gentle sigh, but it could not wipe away the tears on the child's face. There was only the pain and suffering of a wronged sob and a heartbeat that was about to collapse. Xie Zhou looked at the child crying, and his heart was also difficult to hide. Sometimes, when you think ghosts are scary, you don't know that the human heart in this world is scarier than ghosts. People say that a person's nature is good, but the fact is that a person's nature is evil. Without the education and persuasion of society, how can people have conscience and kindness, and how can they follow the rules of this society? Humans were once like beasts. In this world, the survival of the fittest is natural selection. After taking off the skin of wisdom, humans are like beasts, even more cruel than beasts. Guo Ran looked at Yehung crying, took the opportunity to approach again, thinking that Xie Zhou's method of diverting the child's attention was good, and then he rushed over quickly, and pulled Yehung, who was standing outside the rooftop, back before Yehung could react. Yehung threw himself on Guo Ran, and his tears fell on his police uniform, but he was hugged tightly by Guo Ran. "Little classmate, don't go to such dangerous places again, otherwise you won't have the opportunity to have a police brother like me to pick you up every time." And Xie Zhou also came over. He squatted down, looked at the rescued child, met Yehung's red eyes, and said, "Your mother is indeed dead, but her soul has always been guarding by your side. She protects you all the time. She loves you, beyond time, beyond life and death." Yehung's eyes were red, and at this moment, he lay on Guo Ran and cried, like a little beast that had lost its protection. Xie Zhou raised his head and looked into the void. He had seen the ghost there before. He was once a subordinate of the Ghost King and one of the 4 Ghost Kings under the name of the Great Ghost King, Ghost Mother Guanyin. Ghost Mother Guanyin slaughtered tens of thousands of people in one night, forming a blood pit of tens of thousands of people, and became the Ghost King herself. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 256. Xie Zhou's memory does not remember when the ghost mother Guanyin became a ghost, nor does he know what happened to the other party. However, when he appeared from his memory, the ghost mother Guanyin under the great ghost king was already able to control all kinds of ghosts. The most evil of ghosts. One thing that makes people remember is that all the evil ghosts in the name of Guanyin, the ghost mother, are underage ghosts, from the newly born ghost baby, to the several-year-old Gumantung, to the teenage Li Zhong. The evil ghosts all bowed to Guanyin, the mother of ghosts. His naked eyes saw through the ghost in front of him, which had not yet completely gone crazy. She was not the Guanyin that everyone was afraid of back then. The ghost mother Guanyin in Xie Zhou's memory had a huge body and had countless possessions like Guanyin. Hands, these hands grow on the body of Guanyin, the ghost mother, like Guanyin Bodhisattva. Countless eyes will open on each arm, and when they look at you, they will make your hair stand on end. This is also the reason why people call this evil ghost king Guanyin, the ghost mother, because Guanyin thousand hands, this ghost mother also has countless hands. It is said that she is particularly good to the underage ghosts under her, so among the ghost king and when humans and the original owner fought against each other, They always protected their children. In the middle of the physical body of Guanyin, the ghost mother, are her own two hands, holding a young man's skeleton. After the original owner finally signed a contract with humans, when she destroyed the ghost mother Guanyin, she was looking for evil spirits to destroy her. After dropping the young man's skeleton and grinding the skeleton into powder, the ghost mother Guanyin was stimulated and was eventually killed. That day, the cries of Guanyin, the ghost mother, resounded throughout the city. Her cries of collapse were heard everywhere. The sky was dark and the earth was dark, and blood rained from the sky, just like her tears, which made many mothers unable to bear it. My eyes are red. Later, after the ghost mother Guanyin was completely wiped out, people said that the skeleton in the ghost mother's arms was her child. The child's skeleton was gone, so the ghost mother Guanyin chose to be completely wiped out. When he saw the scene in front of him, Xieting Zhou finally understood why Yeqiang would eventually become the ghost mother Guanyin in his memory. The pain of her death was the worst among evil ghosts. If she hadn't had a son to hold her back, she would have slaughtered the world long ago. But for her son, she was willing to endure it and always protect him. But humans forced her last belief to death and her biological son to death, so the ghost mother Guanyin slaughtered thousands of people in one night, fearing that they would all be buried with Ye Heng. I'm afraid this matter will not go well today, which is why Xieting Zhou beat him. There are ghosts in the void that people can't see. She is looking at her son with bleeding eyes. Ye Heng lies on Guo Ran and cries bitterly. The tears keep falling on Guo Ran's chest. Guo Ran is also angry at a child. He wanted to commit suicide, but when he heard such pitiful cries, he couldn't help but put his arms around him, pat his back and said, "Okay, okay, be good. If you have any grievances, tell the police, brother, and I will make the decision for you. Life is so beautiful, we must cherish it. Cry, cry. When you are done crying, the grievances will be gone. Brother, I will give it to you. Call the shots." With rare tenderness, Guo Ran coaxed the crying boy, thinking that the other boy was only 5 or 6 years younger than him, so he was so weak, yet he just pulled him over without even a trace of flesh on his body. Thinking like this, Guo Ran began to stand up slowly. Although he held up one hand, he let Ye Heng lie on his chest, holding the child with one hand in a protective manner. When Kui Kaid, the dean of teaching, and Lin Ziman, the head teacher, saw this scene, their hearts went into their stomachs. On the other hand, several young people on the side had ugly expressions and couldn't help but sigh on the ground. Not a coward. One person complained, then turned to leave. "Let's go, there's no fun anymore, you're a coward." Another boy also said, and the 4 boys turned and walked towards the door of the rooftop. They found that the door was locked at some point, but they didn't think much about it. They walked over and wanted to open the door, but found that it was locked. The door won't open at all. The door is broken. One of the boys, named Yurongzi, opened the door but did not open it and kicked it. "I'll do it." The man who had been beaten was called Chen Jinbin. At this time, he also reached out to pull the door, but found that it could not be opened. "It's locked from the inside, just call someone to open it." Another boy, Feng Chen, said, took out his mobile phone from his pocket, and then made a call, only to find that no one answered the phone. "My cell phone has no signal, what about you?" Another Miao Hoxun also took out his mobile phone and dialed his friend's number, but found that he couldn't dial out at all. "Me neither." At this time, the dean also came over and asked, "Why don't you open the door? I'm telling you, you will definitely be asked to write an inspection about this matter today. Then the whole school will be informed. If you don't admit your mistake and apologize to classmate Ye Heng, I will report it to the principal and ask you to be expelled." Kui Kaid said, he was really angry. It would be unthinkable if Ye Heng really couldn't think about it and jumped, so he felt that this matter must be taken seriously. After he finished speaking, he went to open the door, only to find that the rooftop door could not be opened, but there was a problem. This door opens electrically from the outside. That's right, the door to the rooftop has a lock not on the inside, but on the outside. Because there had been an accident in the school before, where someone came to play on the rooftop, and then the door was closed and he couldn't get out, and he didn't have a mobile phone. Finally, he closed the door. It took 2 or 3 days to be discovered, and everyone was exhausted, so the school redesigned the door lock. The door lock on the rooftop is outside the rooftop. There is a button inside that can directly close the rooftop lock electrically. But in fact, if people are on the rooftop, they can directly open the door manually. So after opening the lock, Kuikide found that he couldn't open the door. He took out his mobile phone and planned to call the school security, but found that he couldn't get through. Director Kui, what's wrong? Lin Zeman did not go to Yehung's side. He knew that boys had to respect each other. He was his teacher. If he kept seeing him crying, he would wait until he went to school. He was afraid that the boy would be embarrassed, so he came over now. It turned out that Director Kui looked ugly. The door lock on the rooftop is broken, and the phone can't be reached. Teacher Lin, please call and ask about the situation. Lin Zeman also quickly took out his mobile phone. Unexpectedly, it directly showed that there was no signal. After calling, no one answered. No signal, what's going on? The rooftop signal at the school is still very good. Let's call out to the students below. Maybe they can hear us. There's also a loudspeaker. Let's ask the security guard to come up and open the door. Director Kui didn't think much and walked towards the rooftop. He lay on the guardrail of the rooftop and looked down, and then his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Because the school has a 7th floor, the rooftop they are standing on is on the top of the 7th floor. Generally speaking, it is called the 8th floor rooftop, but here at the school, it is customary to call the rooftop of the 7th floor. Director Kui has been to this place many times. This time, you can directly see the students below, and even those with better eyesight can recognize their friends in the crowd. But now, it was only the 7th floor away, but everything below was covered by white clouds, or white smoke. He couldn't see what was below. All this was so weird that Director Kui looked ugly. Yehung cried in Guo Ran's arms like he was venting his anger for a long time. Long Liun on the side took out wet wipes and tissues and handed them over. After Yehung finished crying, his eyes were as red as a rabbit. Before he could move, Guo ran, so I took a wet wipe and wiped Yehung's face carefully, because I saw the injuries on his face, so I was careful. Okay, stop crying. Look at how you look now. You look like the little rabbit I raised when I was a kid. Your eyes are terribly red. Does your face hurt? I'll wipe it for you carefully. Wait for you. Follow me to the police station. We have medicine at the police station and we'll deal with it for you. If you have any grievances, just tell me or file a complaint. Being able to save a person is the most awesome thing that Guo Ran has done since becoming a policeman. At this time, Guo Ran felt like a big hero. In other words, in this case of Yehung, Guo Ran is a great hero. Guo Ran wiped his tears like this, then pulled him up and patted his shoulders. Too thin. It seems that the food in your school cafeteria is not delicious. The food in our police station is delicious. Can I take you to eat later? Guo Ran was still coaxing Yehung, while Director Kui and Lin Zeman, who looked ugly, hurried over. Comrade Police. Something happened. Comrade Police, the door to the rooftop cannot be opened, and our mobile phones have no signal, as well as below. We are now on the 7th floor, but looking down from the 7th floor, no one can be seen. It is all white. It's so evil. When Long Liun on the side heard this, he rushed over and looked down from the edge. Sure enough, he saw a confused white mist, covering everything below, which made people shudder. Guo Ran was also stunned and couldn't help but look at Xie Tingzhou, then grabbed Ye Hong's hand and looked over there. After seeing the white mist below, Ye Hong was stunned for a moment, but didn't think much about it. It's okay. Maybe it's just foggy. We'll definitely be able to go down later. Guo Ran comforted Ye Hong. In order to protect Ye Hong's safety, he was afraid that Ye Hong would act on his own. But the next moment, Ye Hong turned around and walked towards Xie Tingzhou. Guo Ran was also forced to walk over. He saw the young man crying and asked with a hoarse voice. "Brother policeman, you said that my mother is by my side. Is that true? Where is she now? Can I still see her? I don't want her to die. Sometimes I think it's actually good for her to leave my father. It would be great to meet a good man again, get married and have a better child than me, and live a happy life. I don't want her to die. Brother policeman, tell me, is my mother really dead?" Faced with such a question, Xie Tingzhou stretched out his hand, rubbed Ye Hong's hair, looked at the child in front of him, this child who had not yet turned into a skeleton, and said, "She has died long ago, but she is always by your side, Ye Hong, she loves you." There was a moment of silence, and among everyone's nervousness and panic, Xie Tingzhou said the last sentence. "She died a brutal death. She was the worst of evil. Today you were forced to jump off the building. Even though your life is safe, it has made her angry. She wants to kill all the humans here, as a mother. Good man, he has a golden finger." Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 257. Never underestimate a mother's anger, not to mention that this mother is a ghost who is about to lose her mind. Among ghosts, people like Yu Xiao can be considered evil ghosts at best, but people like Ye Qiang are the worst ghosts among evil spirits. It is easy to distinguish this matter according to people in metaphysics. The formation of evil spirits usually involves suicide, a special time, a special dress, and then committing suicide. But this kind of evil ghost is different. Before death, the evil ghost must suffer all kinds of pain in the world, or be tortured to death, or be cut into pieces, or be sacrificed by human beings, etc. in order to cast the evil ghost, or in other words, to create a god. That's right, just like the generals among human beings, killing one person is a sin, killing 10,000 people is a hero, killing 9 million people is a hero among heroes. The same is true for fierce ghosts. A fierce ghost kills people or slaughters ghosts. If you kill one, you will not be reincarnated. If you kill 100, you will not be worshipped. But if you kill 10,000, you can become a ghost. Guanyin, the mother of ghosts, is a name that describes both ghosts and gods. After Xie Tingzhou said this, everyone around him turned pale when he heard the voice. They also understood that what they encountered now was not an accident at all. The door was locked, the phone could not be connected, and they could not see downstairs. These are all ghosts trying to beat the wall. For a moment, everyone's expressions were extremely ugly. Only Ye Hong stood there blankly, the tears that he had finally wiped away fell again. The spring wind that should have been gentle now blew through him with a hint of coolness. The profile of his face seemed like a mother's kiss. "Is Mom here? Mom has been with me all the time. Is she okay? How did she die?" Thinking of his mother being murdered, Ye Hong was not afraid of what was happening now. When he thought that his mother had always been by his side to protect him, he couldn't help but look around, like a lost deer. "Mom! Mom, are you there? Where are you? Mom, can you come out and see me? I miss you so much. Mom. I lied. I don't blame you for leaving me at all. I just want to see you again." No child really resents his mother. Although Ye Hong has shouldered all this in recent years, if possible, deep down in his heart, he still hopes that his mother will be well. This is the most sincere wish of a child. The other boys who had bullied Yehung before had extremely ugly expressions. After all, they all thought about the strange things that happened to them. Chen Jinbin was the one who was beaten. He had previously encouraged everyone to bully Yehung just because the girl he liked Yehung. So Chen Jinbin fell down the stairs and broke his leg. He lay in bed for 2 months during the winter vacation. Miao Hoxun accidentally got it while sharpening a pencil because he had destroyed Yehung's homework and damaged Yehung's desk and chair. Yu Rongzi fell while doing the horizontal bar. Although she was fine on the surface, she left a big scar on her head and needed 8 stitches. There is also Feng Chen Chen. Feng Chen Chen fell into the sewer when he left school. Fortunately, the rescue was quick, otherwise he would have been drowned by the things in the sewer. However, after being rescued, he was still full of stench. This is why they returned again, the reason why he forced Yehung to death. The 4 of them all thought that Yehung was unlucky, and anyone who had anything to do with Yehung would be unlucky. The reason why what happened to them was because they had something to do with Yehung. As long as Yehung died, they would be fine. Children's evil is so simple. They simply regard bullying as a joke and make bullying a daily routine. But now, when they need to pay the price, they cannot accept the birth of this price. Thinking of everything they had done to Yehung, these 4 people suddenly looked so ugly that they were about to cry when they thought that Yehung had a ghost mother. Kui Kaid and class teacher Lin Zeman were also afraid, but they were afraid of different things. Comrade Police, I understand what you mean. Are you saying that classmate Yehung's mother is a ghost? She wants to kill all of us here because of the bullying that classmate Yehung received. Kui Kaid's face was also pale, but it was not about his own life or death. He seemed to be stubborn in wanting an answer. He turned his head and glanced downstairs. The worried look in his eyes made Xieting Zhou understand, but it was useless to understand. Not just the people on this rooftop, but the entire school, and the students within the entire school, are her prey. Xieting Zhou gave an extremely terrifying answer. At this time, they didn't know that all the students downstairs seemed to be bewitched. Everyone took out their mobile phones and started calling their parents. The phone call means that the school has urgent matters and needs family members to come over. Yu Rongzi and others on the rooftop didn't know that while they were still panicking and scared, their cell phones had automatically dialed their parents, asking their parents to come to the school as soon as possible. The entire school has become Yechiang's ghost land, with only those coming in and no one going out. Are the students down there okay? I can't see it. If something happens to the entire school, it's useless even if I die. There are more than 6,000 people in the school. With so many students, Kui Kaid simply couldn't imagine what would happen if something happened. That would be more than 6,000 young lives, and even if he wanted to avenge Yehung, he wouldn't have to involve innocent people. Yehung, I will ask them to apologize to you, and then ask the school to expel them. I can also kneel on the ground and apologize to you. Please, Yehung. Ask your mother to let other innocent students go. If it doesn't work, you can kill us and the people who bullied you. I am willing to die as long as your mother doesn't touch those innocent students, please, Yehung. Dean Kui Kaid knelt down. Some people in the education industry have their own persistence. In Kui Kaid's heart, students are always more important than himself. When all students are threatened, Kui Kaid is willing to use his life in exchange for the survival of students. He knelt in front of Yehung, and he was in a very embarrassing state at this time. Several boys who had bullied Yehung before looked at him angrily. They didn't expect Kui Kaid to say that he wanted the evil spirit to kill them. People tend to be neutral. For example, if you want to open a window, you can't say I want to open the window. You have to say you want to lift the roof, so that everyone will agree to you opening a window. It was the same at this time. With so many students in need of protection, Kui Kaid was willing to sacrifice himself, and even sacrifice a few evil people at the same time to save innocent students. This was an inevitable choice. Long Liun and Guo Ran never expected that they would find a ghost mother just to solve a school jumping incident, and they would kill thousands of people in the school at will. It was so scary. Let's say that the red-clothed female ghost Yu Xiao only wanted to kill her parents. This evil ghost is really scary. Ye Heng didn't look at Kui Kai kneeling there. He just looked at Xie Tingzhou, opened his mouth, and his voice was hoarse. "Mom doesn't want to see me, I can't see her," he said, pleading with Xie Tingzhou with tears in his eyes, but Xie Tingzhou said, "She may not want you to see her pain. Your mother died after suffering so much. She was killed and dismembered. She has been practicing ghost ways for more than 10 years. She is no longer the same face as before. Do you still want to see her? People are affected by vision." Thinking of Ye Qiang's current appearance, Xie Tingzhou felt sympathy in his heart, but he could not change it. Ghost Mother Guanyin has embarked on the path she must take, and now, what he wants to give Ye Heng is the final choice. Is it love or fear? I want to see her. No matter what she looks like, she is my mother and my only mother. Ye Heng wiped away his tears, his eyes were firmer than ever. At this time, the child's eyes were bright, and there was no longer the gloom before, as if the Ye Heng who wanted to commit suicide had never existed. "Mom wants me to live, I want to see Mom, Mom, please, let me see you. For many years, I have never dreamed of you, Mom, just this time, let me see you, okay?" He prayed to Ye Qiang who never appeared, and Xie Tingzhou finally took out the yin-yang talisman. This is the yin-yang talisman. After dripping blood on it and sticking it on your body, you can see ghosts. After saying that, he also took out the Requiem talisman and gave it to Ye Heng. This is the Requiem talisman. Drop your blood on it and stick this talisman on your mother, and you can touch her, but this also requires her to be willing. The Requiem talisman can be activated with the blood of a blood relative, but whether it can be truly used depends on whether the ghost is willing. Ye Heng did not hesitate to drop his blood on the yin-yang talisman, and then he felt his eyes suddenly cold, and saw a meat mountain on the right. What kind of scene was that? The deformed meat mountain was covered with children's hands, which formed a huge monster. Only in the middle was the face of Ye Heng's mother in his memory, but her face was full of pain and struggle, and blood and tears fell down her mother's face. Although he could not hear any sound, Ye Heng felt that his mother was crying. He turned around, not afraid of the meat mountain in front of him, walked towards it, and had already dripped blood on the Requiem talisman. The meat mountain did not move, but Ye Qiang's face was in pain. She opened her mouth and said something, but her arms were waving wildly, as if she was refusing her son to get close to her. But Ye Heng did not stop at all. He walked over and picked up the Requiem after approaching his mother. He started crying again, but this time, he cried with a smile. Seeing his mother should be a happy thing, but tears fell disobediently. He gently put the Requiem on the meat mountain, and with great dependence, he stretched out his hand and was embraced by the meat mountain. "Mom, hug me again, like when we were little." Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 258. When the Requiem amulet was attached to Ye Qiang's body, everyone on the rooftop saw an indescribable scene in their lives. It was a huge mountain of meat, more than 2 meters high. It was made up of various kinds of wriggling meat and arms. There were even many teeth and eyes on the arms, with a face exposed in the center. The woman's eyes were red and tears of blood fell. The surging fingers slowly hugged Ye Heng into her body. Many hands pinched Ye Heng's body and slowly brought Ye Heng up. Even in the end, the entire body was attached to this mountain of flesh. When approaching the woman's face, the hands that once belonged to the woman hugged the son's body. Everyone heard the woman's cry of sadness and joy. "Ah Heng, mother's baby. Guo Ran was still afraid that this mountain of meat would hurt Ye Hung. He originally wanted to go forward, but in the end he saw Ye Hung being carefully carried up by many arms, and then gently embraced by a woman's arms. At this moment, he was obviously so rugged and deformed. His body made Guo Ran feel an indescribable Buddha nature. It's an inexplicable kind of compassion that makes people feel compassionate, and it makes people's hearts ache all of a sudden. Long Liun also raised his head and looked at Ye Hung's unique mother. The four of them, Xiren, Chen Jinbin, Miao Hoxun and Feng Chen Chen, were all frightened. They took several steps back at once, and some were frightened to pee. In short, they were very scared of such a scene, not to mention that as the perpetrators, he even made a move against Ye Hung, and such a terrifying thing could easily kill them. Kui Kaid and Lin Zimin also watched the scene blankly. This scene that challenged their worldview made them cry inexplicably, but they didn't know why they were crying for a moment. Even though Ye Qiang transformed into a fierce ghost, she was dismembered during her lifetime, so her soul after death would look for the body of her former self, and her soul and body were incomplete. Therefore, in the process of cultivation, she was also a mother and picked up many children who were abandoned by their parents. Abandoned baby ghosts, and some little ghosts who were confused after death. She became the mother of these little ghosts and raised these little ghosts tenderly. However, she could not stop the ghosts in the world from being driven away. In the end, she could only kill them before they dissipated. The ghost is swallowed into the body. In more than 10 years, Ye Qiang has turned into such a big mountain of meat, but it is the most cherished existence of the dead imps. They will rely on Ye Qiang to act like a baby and cry like living children. Ye Qiang is no longer the evil ghost like Yu Xiaoa, she has become a god. The arms growing on Ye Qiang's body are all the children who have been protected by Ye Qiang. They have become one with the ghost mother, protecting the ghost mother at all times, and feeling all the ghost mother's thoughts. At this time, they are holding their son. Ye Qiang gently hugged her son with her arm, and carefully touched her son's cheek with her other hand, trying to wipe away her son's tears. Ye Hung looked like he was held in his mother's arms when he was a child. He looked at his mother who was shedding tears of blood. Even though her voice was a little hoarse, she was still very well behaved. "Mom, you are still the same as before, soft and gentle when you hug me." He reached out his hand and gently helped his mother, who had changed beyond recognition, to wipe away her tears. The blood and tears stained Ye Hung's fingers and turned red. However, he felt even more aggrieved, thinking that before he knew it, his mother had already died. He was already dead, and might even have been treated horribly while alive. Ye Hung was so distressed that his tears fell unconsciously. "Mother." He suddenly didn't dare to look at his mother, turned his head and buried his cheek on Ye Qiang's body. He didn't know that there were eyes everywhere on Ye Qiang's body. He closed his eyes and his whole body was trembling. Unexpectedly, her hand grabbed Ye Qiang's finger. The eyelashes of her closed eyes were trembling, and tears kept pouring out, falling on Ye Qiang's flesh, and finally being gently licked clean. "Mom, do you feel any pain?" he asked in a choked voice, holding Ye Qiang's cold fingers tightly, and kept asking. "Mom, are you in special pain? Does it hurt like being bullied? Does it hurt like being insulted? Is it the pain of being stared at by everyone?" After Ye Hung saw his mother, he suddenly felt that the pain he had suffered was not 1/10,000th of what his mother had suffered. The policeman brother said that his mother was cut into pieces, so it must be very painful, right? It hurts, almost to death, right? When he thought of all this, his heart felt so painful that it almost twitched. He was lying in his mother's arms and crying like he did when he was a child, but he didn't know what he was praying for. Ye Qiang gently stroked Ye Hung's trembling back, knowing that her son felt sorry for her. She had watched her son suffer so much over the years, so how could he feel the same pain? The happiness in this world is probably similar, only the pain is their own suffering. It is like the pain of swallowing glass shards, which makes people miserable. She couldn't say anything to comfort her son. She just shook her arms gently, as if she had coaxed her son when she was a child, and then hummed a southern song whose lyrics were incomprehensible. The mother's comforting song floats throughout the school. It is a gentle love that is as gentle as a kiss, and the evaporation of tears of distress intolerance. In addition to the ghost mother Yechiang on the rooftop, there are countless people under the rooftop. The kid raised his head at this time, listening to the music his mother was humming, with an intoxicated expression on his purple face. Every one of these little devils clings to the students. As long as the mother gives the order, they will immediately kill the human being who makes the mother cry. Ghosts have long been separated from humans, and naturally they will not sympathize with humans. They are just children who need their mother. At this time, they are listening to their mother's music and smiling happily. This scene fell in Xie Ting's eyes. The huge mountain of flesh should have been terrifying, but it was full of Buddha nature and divinity. How could Yechiang look like an evil ghost at this moment? She is the favorite ghost mother of ghost babies and little ghosts. She is the ghost mother Guanyin who is born with hatred but lives because of love. Guo Ran and Long Liuyun also stared at the scene blankly, and suddenly understood why Xie Tingzhou said that no one here would survive. If Yehung dies, I'm afraid everyone in this school will be buried with Yehung. Listening to the familiar tunes from childhood, the familiar humming of his mother, the crying Yehung was finally comforted by his mother. Yehung, who is now almost 17 years old, felt a little embarrassed after he recovered, but he was still comforted by his mother. With Yechiang in his arms, he slowly raised his body and looked at his mother. He clearly knew that the mother in front of him was already what the police comrades called a ghost mother, but to Yehung, this was still his mother. "Mom, I don't want to die. I will live. I want to avenge you. I want everyone to know that you didn't run away with someone else. The policeman said you were killed." He gently stroked his mother's face. Even though there was a squirming mountain of flesh behind the face, Yehung was not afraid. His love has transcended terror. "Mom, tell me, who killed you?" It's coming, I don't know why, everyone is extremely nervous right now. There is an old saying that when you meet a ghost, never ask who killed her, as this will irritate the ghost. But Yechiang was different. Her red eyes looked at her son Yehung, she was still so gentle, without any sign of going crazy, and she spoke. "It was Du Yuhan. Du Yuhan killed me and separated my body. Part of it was sealed in the wall, part of it was thrown into the river, and part of it was in the sewer." Yechiang told the truth about his death, and this result did not shock policemen like Xie Tingzhou, Long Liuyun, and Guo Ran, but it made Yehung confused. As we all know, once one member of a couple dies, the other is usually the most direct suspect. This is the case in many cases. Who is the final beneficiary? Then who is the suspect? I kept him alive. I just hope that he will raise you up. Ahung, mother is always watching you. Mother hopes that you can grow up well and become a person who can live an easy life. She gently stroked her son's hair, but her calm eyes were filled with anger. But I didn't expect that people are the most terrifying monsters in the world. They want to kill you, but I can't do anything. Humans and ghosts are inaccessible. Even a ghost mother like Yechiang can only affect some things within a certain range and cannot appear in front of people. This is why Yechiang clearly saw Yehung suffering but could not help. All that can be done is to harm these people. But today, Yehung was almost forced to death in front of Yechiang. Her anger reached its peak, and she summoned a kid to kill for the first time. If Yehung really died today, Yechiang would definitely kill everyone in the school. "Mom, it's not your fault, it's that I'm not strong enough. If I knew you were always by my side, no matter what happened, I would work hard to live, because I have you and I have my mother. Sometimes when people are alive, they just need support. Yehung committed suicide before because he had no love in life. But now that he knows that his mother is by his side, he naturally doesn't want to die. He still has many things to do. He wanted to avenge his mother and wanted the truth to be revealed. He wanted to live the rest of his life with his mother, and he never wanted to make her cry or make her sad again. Mom, don't kill anyone today, okay? I want the truth about you to be revealed. I want everyone to know that you are a good person. I also want you to spend every day with me, every morning and every night. After wiping away the blood and tears on his mother's face, Yehung kissed the side of his mother's face as he did when he was a child, full of dependence. Mom, I love you and miss you so much. When Yehung said these words, the students in the whole school suddenly woke up from their confusion. Everyone heard the voices of various children, like singing, like shouting, like carnival, but sincere crazy again. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. Mom, I love you. The love that belongs to a ghost is harsh and crazy, sincere and pious. At this moment, Xieting is standing there, and everyone around him has knelt down on the ground without knowing when. They knelt devoutly in front of this mountain of meat, clasped their hands together. It's like kneeling down to worship gods and Buddhas and praying devoutly. Guanyin, the ghost mother, please have mercy on the children. Guanyin, ghost mother, please take good care of the children. Guanyin, ghost mother, please protect the children. The sincere prayers gave the huge flesh mountain a different kind of divinity again. Xieting smiled when he saw the golden light on the ghost mother Guanyin. At this moment, Guanyin, the ghost mother, has become a god. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin. Chapter 259. A world full of ghosts must be restricted, and the one who restricts these ghosts is God. God sit high above the clouds, but never look down on the world, let alone save humans who are in deep pain, so there is another word, creating gods. Feelings and abilities that transcend a limit, after the tearing of the body and soul, will become artificial gods. Since ancient times, artificial gods have often created evil gods through extreme pain, long-term madness, and sacrifice. There are also a group of earth gods who became gods after being voluntarily worshipped by people. This kind of power is not great, and there are few people who bless. But the ghost mother Guanyin in front of us is a real ghost. She suffered an extremely painful death, and her soul was reborn because of love. She has great love in her heart, blesses lonely souls, but it is difficult to let go of small love in her heart. She struggles with herself and becomes a god and a demon in just a moment. Xieting thought of the ghost mother Guanyin he had seen in his memory. Her eyes were no longer red, but dark with complete disappointment in the world, like the thickest abyss in the world. Only when she held the bones in her arms could she glimpse her tenderness. But now, the ghost mother Guanyin's eyes were red, but they were flowing with golden light. One thought became a demon, and one thought became a Buddha. It had already survived this catastrophe, shaped the Buddha's body, and achieved the Dharma. When everyone knelt at its feet and worshipped, the ghost mother Guanyin looked at Xieting, and she had already glimpsed the past and the future. The flesh on her body gradually began to be corroded by the red smoke. When the smoke completely buried the ghost mother Guanyin and Yehung, Xieting still smiled and looked at each other, with red disgust lingering, and the one who came out of the smoke again was a woman with a height of 1.75 meters. She was wearing a goose yellow long skirt, holding Yehung's hand, with a red mole on her forehead, and her fair face was like Guanyin, so that no one dared to look directly at her. "Thank you, Xieting." Yechiang looked at Xieting and said this. She had seen through the past and the future, and knew that the world would soon be saved by the man in front of her, and her son would no longer be a withered skeleton. As the ghost mother Guanyin, Yechiang would not think that Xietingzhou was disrespectful to her by not kneeling. Why, thank you. It is my honor to worship the ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva. Xietingzhou looked over without fear. Even though he was a mortal body, he had saved the world. In such a world of ghosts and gods, he was no different from a god. Yechiang said nothing more, but looked into the distance. Beside her was her son when she was alive, and her children after her death were all calling her mother word by word under the rooftop. Her ability to become a god was naturally the merit of these children. On the rooftop, except for Xietingzhou, Yechiang, and Yeheng, all other humans were in a state of confusion, with fog in front of their eyes and shouts in their ears. Mom, I love you. Mom, I love you. Mom. The hoarse and terrifying calls made people want to kneel down devoutly. Under the rooftop, all the students knelt down on the ground without knowing when. They felt the gaze of the gods and knelt down uncontrollably. They could only hear the little ghosts around them calling their mothers, and the cheerful voices seemed to be happy and sad. At this moment, many parents of students have entered the territory of this school. After entering, they only felt their heads buzzing, and then they heard their mothers' calls. The red smoke enveloped the entire school. The shouts all over the sky were like the most bizarre soul-calling ceremony, making these people kneel down on the ground, and then kneel down devoutly and tightly with their hands, but their souls seemed to be taken to another place. Some people saw the scene when Yechiang was born. Yechiang's parents celebrated her birth, and her father was shaking while holding Yechiang's hand. Some people saw the innocence of Yechiang when she was a child. She looked cute and innocent when she smiled, and she always hugged her father and mother tightly. Some people saw the young girl's first love, saw her fall into the sweetness and struggle of love, and finally lost herself step by step in the sweet words and fell into the trap of the man. Love is the most expensive luxury in the world. Feelings that need to be carefully managed to exist will eventually end up in a mess. In the unreal dreamlike picture, people saw the quarrels after Yechiang got married and the ecstasy when she found out that she was pregnant. Yechiang's hoarse shouting on the hospital bed, and her embarrassed smile when she heard the child crying, flashed through people's minds. They didn't know what they were doing, but they saw it all automatically in their minds. After giving birth to the child, Yechiang's endless love for the child, the changes in her husband, and the quarrels again and again, everything went crazy when Yechiang found out that her husband was gambling and even took out accident insurance for her young son. Cruel scenes appeared in everyone's mind. They saw Yechiang's husband madly beat Yechiang to death with an ashtray, then dismembered her body and scattered her body everywhere. People saw her appearance before she died, saw her appearance after she died, and then, saw its birth. After the death of Yechiang, who belonged to the human world, Yechiang, who belonged to the ghost world, was reborn. She drifted in completely, protecting the little ghosts as if they were her own children. She protected countless little ghosts in the first 5 years when she was ignorant, and returned to her son after she woke up, and cultivated the ghost mother's body step by step. It turns out that ghosts can also die. More and more people saw that the ghost babies and little ghosts protected by Yechiang were about to disappear. The ghost mother shed blood-red tears, but she could not stop it. She took these little ghosts and ghost babies that were about to disappear into her arms, and step by step became a meat mountain. The countless arms on her body were proof that the children were accommodated. People who knelt on the ground, closed their eyes and clasped their hands together, and shed tears one after another. When the ghost mother Guanyin gave up killing, people shed tears of gratitude, felt the gaze of the gods, and prostrate themselves on the ground devoutly, with their foreheads pressed against the ground, and their tears fell into the land, all becoming nutrients for the ghost mother Guanyin. At this time, the people in the school did not know that outside the entire school, the police cars had surrounded the entire school, because except for the parents of this school, the police found that they could not get in at all. Malkun stood outside with many policemen, watching the school in front of them filled with a red cloud. As human bodies, they could not get in, and the special police could not move, because human weapons can only target people. How can they target ghosts? Uziawa, who was standing outside, seemed to feel something for a moment. She knelt down towards the school, clenching her fingers devoutly. Pray to the ghost Mother Guanyin Bodhisattva, please bless the children. Malkun was a human being, so he naturally couldn't feel these things. Seeing Uziawa's appearance, he felt that something was going on inside. He came here because he couldn't get through to Xietingzhou. 4 hours had passed. They didn't know what was going on inside. Even evil ghosts like Uziawa couldn't enter. No one dared to imagine what was going on inside. After Uziawa finished worshipping, she raised her head with a smile. Captain, don't worry, there are no evil ghosts inside, but gods, real ghosts and gods. Malkun felt a shock in his heart, and at this time he was speechless and couldn't say a word. Yes, when you know that there are ghosts in this world, you should know that there should be gods in this world. Just when Malkun was worried, the fog in front of him began to disappear. This made Malkun's eyes light up. He quickly directed the people in the police station to go inside. After they entered the school, they found that the parents scattered around the school were holding their children and crying. Some were kneeling on the ground and kowtowing, mumbling something. After listening carefully, they found that it was the 4 words Ghost Mother Guanyin. When Malkun heard these 4 words, his heart was shocked, and his heartbeat seemed to speed up uncontrollably. These parents who woke up hugged their children. After witnessing the life of Ghost Mother Guanyin with their own eyes, they also saw what happened to Yehung, so when they saw the police, someone immediately grabbed the police's trouser legs. Comrade police! I want to call the police. I know a murder case. I want to call the police. More and more police were grabbed, and they naturally had to listen. Then everyone heard everyone around them talking at once, and they were telling the same story. It was the story of Ghost Mother Guanyin, and the story of the human being named Yeqiang. People couldn't wait to stand up for this god, and everyone had red eyes. As parents, they understood the power of this god even more. When the Ghost Mother Guanyin becomes a deity, all children living in the world will be blessed by this Ghost Mother Guanyin. The police did not expect that there would be such a terrible case, and immediately said that they would investigate immediately. If the matter was true, they would immediately arrange for the police to go out. Malkun ran frantically to the 7th floor, and then to the top floor. After opening the door to the rooftop, when he saw the back of the Ghost Mother Guanyin, he could no longer control his legs and knelt there directly. He seemed to see some unknown existence, kneeling there with his hands folded, closed his eyes, and was extremely pious. Pray to the Ghost Mother Guanyin Bodhisattva, please bless the children. The Ghost Mother Guanyin did not turn around, but just looked at her son who was crying again because he saw her life, and stretched out her hand to gently help her son wipe away his tears. Any suffering will pass, Ahung, I exist anywhere in the world, I am everywhere. She assured her son of her existence. Yehung cried, and seemed to understand something. He pulled up his mother's cold hand and put it on his face, rubbing it like a child. I know mom has many children now, I won't be jealous, I love mom forever. He said, his eyes sparkling, although red like a rabbit, but bright as stars. Ghost Mother Guanyin is disappearing, she exists in any place in this world, coming when believers call, she abandons small love and achieves great love. Watching the mother in front of him gradually dissipate, in the end only a small red statue is left in his hand. Ghost Mother Guanyin with multiple arms, ugly but sacred, let Yehung carefully hold it up and kiss it devoutly. Ghost Mother Guanyin Bodhisattva, I love you forever. Good man, he has a golden finger. Author, Zhanghu Buletin Jian. Chapter 260. They witness the birth of ghosts and gods with their own eyes. In addition to the students, there are nearly 20,000 parents in the entire school. They have witnessed with their own eyes people turning into ghosts and gods. After the ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva disappeared, Maokon slowly stood up from the ground. Luran and Long Liun on the side also stood up from the ground. When the teaching director Kui Kaid and the teacher Lin Ziman got up, they were still standing up. The only ones who looked confused and crazy were Yu Rongzi, Chen Jinbin, Miu Ronghao, and Feng Chen Chen. I saw God. Maokon said this with a complicated expression, and when he looked at the small statue of Bodhisattva in Yehung's hand, Maokon unconsciously became pious. Well, she is the best mother and the best God. From this moment on, Yehung truly lost his mother. God has no humanity. He equally protects all beings who pray to him and equally ignores all ignorant and fearless humans. Yehung smiled and shed tears, knowing that after briefly gaining his mother, he lost it again. But this loss made him no longer afraid of a future life without his mother. He smiled, he looked at the distant sky with tears in his eyes. If I die, I will return to his embrace again. But as long as he is alive, Yehung will definitely live well, live wonderfully, and live hard in the face of any suffering in this world. Because at that moment, Yehung also felt his mother's madness. He could become a devil or a Buddha with one thought. He would not allow his mother, who was a god, to be slandered by anyone anymore. Of course, if we become her believers, we will all return to her arms after death. Guo Ran patted Yehung's shoulder and hugged the overly frail child, just like the clearing sky. The voice became much brighter. So you have to be good and let him watch you and be good all the time. When Maokon heard this, he had roughly guessed all the truth. On the way up, he had heard many people talking about the story of Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother. Naturally, he knew that the Yehung in front of him was the ghost mother Guanyin left behind. The last descendant in the world. Tingzhou, this Bodhisattva. I had heard Tingzhou say that ghosts would resurrect within these years, but Maokon never thought that he would witness the birth of a god with his own eyes, and there were many people below who saw the ghost mother Guanyin incarnate. The picture of becoming a ghost and the soul becoming a god. Guanyin Bodhisattva, the mother of ghosts, is the first god in this world. She protects all underage children from being harassed by evil ghosts. She is a good god. When Xie Tingzhou said these words, Maokon actually already knew what he meant. Since ghosts will revive sooner or later, humans must be prepared for this process. It would be best if there are gods willing to stand by their side. I see. Maokon nodded, and then looked at everyone next to him. Follow us to the police station. The case about Yehung's mother and Yehung's case need to be handled by the police. From then on, no one dared to say his name. They knew the name of the ghost mother Guanyin, but they did not dare to call her by her name. Yes, Kui Kaid and Lin Ziman both nodded. What happened today was beyond their imagination, but in the end it was true that Guanyin, the ghost mother, did not harm anyone. After witnessing the birth of ghosts and gods with their own eyes, both of them were a little confused. As a result, I soon heard a voice from the side. Ah, ah, ah. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Hearing such a voice, Maokon, Long Liun, and Guo Ran looked over and found that the four people who had been urging Yehung to jump off the building and making sarcastic remarks had nervous expressions on their faces. Broken down, I opened my mouth and kept trying to speak, but when I heard the sound coming to my mouth, I heard the sound of ah. The ghost mother Guanyin Bodhisattva took away their voices and spared their lives because they were minors. The answer Xie Tingzhou gave made Guo Ran and Long Liun understand. Only when you see the malice of these young people in person can you know how disgusting and terrifying what this person did is. But the next moment, Xie Tingzhou looked at these four young men were extremely panicked and frightened because they had lost their voices. Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, protects underage children, but does not protect adults. If you are alive now, someone has suffered it for you. Please take care of yourself in the future. As soon as these words came out, the four children had not thought about what it was, but the police and teachers already understood. Along the way, all Malkan saw were the children's parents hugging their children. However, there were no parents around these four children. So it was the parents of these four children who suffered for these four people. I don't know if Guanyin, the ghost mother, has already taken action. But what if you do it? People always have to pay the price for their actions. If they can't bear it, someone will bear it for them. This is reincarnation. Everyone got off the rooftop. The school had already announced through the radio that the students would have a week off, so that everyone could go home to rest and refresh themselves. There were almost 20,000 people involved in this matter, and it was impossible to keep it completely confidential. So this case is naturally going to be crazy. The parents of the students left the school one after another, and police cars gathered among them. The four minors who could no longer speak did not know what they were about to experience, but Yehung had already adjusted his mood, and the police were quickly proceeding. Activity. The police station has located Du Yuhan's location and started an arrest operation. They have also notified your grandparents in the south. They will arrive here in a day. You should not go home during this period. Just stay here at our police station, and our police station will arrange your accommodation. Mao Kun talked about the arrangements for Yehung. After all, this is the descendant left by the gods in the world, so naturally he cannot be treated casually. The car was still moving in the surging traffic, but the speed of the police was faster. Du Yuhan had been very unlucky in the years after killing his wife. He originally asked his parents to help take care of his son, but later Du Yuhan couldn't control it. His temper hit his parents, so they ignored him. In addition, every time he lived at home, Du Yuhan always felt that his dead wife was watching him, so he liked to go out to gamble and spend time. He has also been unlucky in these years. He was injured many times, but he didn't die, but his life was really sad. When the police arrested him, he was in a very remote small hotel. He had just been drunk last night, so when the owner of the small hotel opened the door and the police rushed in, he was still awake. Police. Now it's proven that you are related to a murder case. Please follow us back to the police station. Du Yuhan was stunned. Before he could react, he was pulled up and put on handcuffs. When he saw the silver handcuffs on his wrists, Du Yuhan finally smiled bitterly, feeling that it had finally come to pass. He was taken away by the police and will be questioned more closely. The people from the Criminal Investigation Brigade also quickly arrived at the place where Du Yuhan once lived with the ghost mother Guanyin. It was a coincidence that among the people in the school at that time, there were criminal police officers. After all, the criminal police officers also had children, and they picked up the children. His phone number was originally not allowed to go out, but the detective went to school as if he was bewitched, so he knew so much about Guanyin, the ghost mother. A criminal investigation team of 40 or 50 people came to the now somewhat dilapidated house, and then based on what one of the criminal police officers saw with their own eyes, they began to demolish the walls. 10 minutes later, part of the bones of Guanyin, the ghost mother, were removed from the wall, and the head of Guanyin was among them. Even after more than 10 years, the bones of Guanyin, the ghost mother, were as bright as white jade. Except that there is no physical body, the white bones dug out are as beautiful as white jade. The people from the forensic identification department wore gloves and carefully dug out the bones. After placing them on the ground, all the people in the police station knelt on the ground piously, with their foreheads pressed to the ground. Visit Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, and please protect the children. They all prayed sincerely. When they saw the white bones with their own eyes, everything that had happened to Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, automatically appeared in their minds. If it were not a god, who could do this thing? The police collected some of the bones of the ghost mother Guanyin in the most pious way. Because the bones were thrown into the sewers and into the river, they were destined to be lost. The bones they were looking for were the ones left by the god. The last thing in the world. At the same time, information on the internet has been flooding out like crazy. Hashtag Muguanyan Bodhisattva hashtag went directly to the hot search. After all, don't underestimate the ability of nearly 20,000 people, and there are many rich people among them, so this strange hot search went directly to the top of the hot search. Many people have never heard of this bodhisattva, but when you click on it, there is a picture inside. The woman who is located in the mountain of meat has a red mole on her forehead. Thousands of arms belonging to children and minors are spread out on her body. Thousands of eyes are opened on her arms. It makes your hair stand on end after you suddenly see such a portrait. But the next moment, there seemed to be many more things in my mind. Many people who saw this painting instantly recognized the identity of the person in the painting, Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother. They had obviously never heard of this god, but they could call him by name at a glance, knew his past and future, and finally worshipped each other devoutly. Visit Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, and please protect the children. Everyone who has read this hot search has sincerely made a wish for this newly born ghost and god. They are searching for news about this god. When more and more people know about this ghost and god's life and death. At this moment, Guanyin Bodhisattva, the ghost mother, announced his arrival to the world. She is a ghost and god, the mother Buddha, and the Guanyin Bodhisattva who protects children.